Hello, everyone. This has been a very hot topic in chat for the last few months. Carcy, what are your thoughts on Resident Evil Requiem? At the current time, meaning 1 month until release, there's now enough material for me to look at to talk about the game. If you've been watching my streams and asked questions, I just have a very short and very fast answer. There's nothing to talk about. That's because there was literally no real gameplay actually shown until the last month or even the last week or so. When I say gameplay, I mean mechanics, combat, scenario flow, level design, a lot of things. The only demo that was shown up to this point, which was the Grace demo seen at Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show and a few other shows, wherever Capcom decides to present it, where you're running away from a giant monster, throwing distraction bottles, solving no puzzles, and just collecting a couple of keys, was simply a technical demonstration that exhibited none of the actual gameplay. It's Resident Evil. We already know that it's going to have guns, action, and not solely run and hide stalker gameplay that is meant to evoke one specific emotion for one scenario. So why even talk about that? There really was no gameplay to talk about, you know? Anyway, now that plenty of gameplay footage actually has made it online, and there's a pretty solid motherload of B-roll supplied by Capcom to various YouTubers and Tier 1 review outlets, let's talk about it. Now, before we continue, I just want to say that against my better judgment, I'm working on an S+ rank no damage Resident Evil 4 remake run that I'm trying to get out the door before Requiem releases. I wanted to make a better video, and I also want more ammo to win empty online arguments about how much I hate the game, because I'm petty like that. I'm dropping the individual commentaries on my Patreon, and all patrons at the $3.50 per month work in progress tier can see the commentaries as I get them done. As of the time of this recording, I've recorded 4 of 16 segments, trying to release one daily. Otherwise, you can wait for the final video whenever it's done. But the support helps as always, and you get to watch it a little sooner. Anyway, let's move on to the main subject at hand. Here are my thoughts on Resident Evil Requiem, the pre-release edition. Alright, so let's begin.
Mr. Kennedy, we need to leave immediately.
What's going on?
I don't know what's happening. Some kind of mass hysteria. The hospital is on lockdown. Doctor.
Calm down.
Why does he look so familiar? Yeah, so Leon definitely looking visibly aged. He's got something on his neck here. Seems to be infected by something.
Want a second opinion?
Right here, you are able to not only deflect the chainsaw, it depletes the durability of your hatchet to 0. It is unclear if you can only sharpen your hatchet a limited number of times, but regardless of that, you are able to just do it, and if he hits you again, then you can deflect it. Pay attention to the gun. The gun isn't jumping. That's huge. That's actually pretty good. Because like in Resident Evil 4 Remake, there were like, I don't know, 5 different skill checks that were required to shoot a gun, and more often than not, you were constantly fighting with the controls just to be able to land a shot. It's like, yes, with enough practice, you could get it, but it was exhausting. It was you shouldn't have to take so many factors into consideration just to be able to shoot the gun and actually have it land shots. I mean, you go from Resident Evil 2 Remake, where you actually have Leon shooting pretty competently, and then you have Resident Evil 4 Remake, where you have Leon just like, waving his gun around everywhere, and is kind of obnoxious. But here, we actually have what appears to be I don't know if I want to say like over the shoulder modern Resident Evil in like its prime form, but it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. So then he goes by. Okay, so here you get grabbed. Similarly to Resident Evil 4, you can see that right there. Yep, yep. The health went down as soon as you get grabbed, and the counter prompt shows up after the bite. So you can counter with the hatchet to reduce damage, but it doesn't function the same as a defense item. Given that you can sharpen your hatchet infinitely, that's fair play. Not sure how that's going to play out in the actual game, but considering the enemies are pretty slow and not particularly numerous, at least for this stage of the game, it seems reasonable. It seems reasonable. Let's keep going. So then there's the counter, and then similarly to Resident Evil 4, there's other attacks where the enemy will just get knocked up against a wall, and then you can do a melee attack, and then there's a context sensitive melee attack that just happens, and if the zombie is not already on the ground, then you can follow up with your hatchet, like so. Minimal durability loss. You probably saw as soon as the hit connected, there was only minimal durability loss doing it this way. I'm not sure if this is a difficulty thing or a difficulty adjustment thing, that influences how quickly the durability on the hatchet runs out. We'll see. So then back to this guy. There's another move coming up. He pulls out his magnum, and then he does this crazy context sensitive, blam, right there. What the hell was that? Basically, it functions as a grab. When I say grab, I mean by the functions of the video game. Similarly to how Street Fighter or Street Fighter grabs work, or something like that. He just grabs the zombie, grab right about here. As soon as the crosshair disappears, the zombie lets go of the chainsaw because the programming of the game has Leon forcing the enemy model to do something. So the chainsaw just suddenly becomes an object in the world now, separate from the zombie, and then Leon can, just blam. So it seems as though it's like a new move that just sort of happens when Leon is point blank next to an enemy, and then the enemy is low on HP, maybe? I mean, it's kind of difficult to tell at this stage. Not going to know until you actually play the game. But it's a pretty sick move, and a lot of the combat flow. I'll rewind it and we'll watch it in full time. Okay, well actually here, this is good. So a few shots, you get the staggered, you get the melee, context sensitive melee, more like environmental melee. An environmental glory kill, if you will. Just kind of like in Doom, So you can shoot enemies in different places in order to exercise different kind of stun states, and then while that zombie is still stunned, it seems like the recovery is long, but it could be that for the purposes of this demo gameplay that it's played on normal difficulty. If the DA numbering conventions are the same in Resident Evil Requiem, then it goes assisted is 1 to 3, normal is 4 to 6, hardcore is 7 to 9, and everything after that is the expert difficulty or the meme difficulty, whichever.
Nice.
So yeah, but Leon can actually just pick up chainsaws in the environment, or pick up weapons in general in the environment. But we also see here Leon does a what appears to be a counter attack here. Actually, let's rewind that real quick. So yeah, you can just melee with the chainsaw. It's difficult to tell if there's a limited amount of time that this chainsaw can be used, or a limited number of uses before it runs out of fuel or something. Not gonna know. But the zombie came really close to grabbing, and it looked like Leon was able to tech it with the chainsaw, and there's a context sensitive melee kill where Leon just shoves the chainsaw in, kicks. You can see the chainsaw sparking around. I'm trying to listen for the chainsaw noise here. Oh, you can still grab it. If you looked very closely at the bottom right, right about, like, you can hear the chainsaw just. Yeah, that kick against the wall is pretty satisfying. Okay, but here, you can see, if you look very closely, if it's not obscured by YouTube's player controls, yeah, you can see the chainsaw icon still. The chainsaw is still there. So you could probably do it for as many times as the chainsaw is able to be used, and for as long as the chainsaw is like able to be on the map. You know, we have no clue if the chainsaw will get destroyed or something like that. The zombie doesn't even really have to be like exactly up against the wall in order to be able to nail the context, or in order to be able to nail the environmental melee kill either. Like, as long as an enemy is just like sort of vaguely against the wall, it seems like it can be used. And it seems like the zombie grabs have like no like either the zombie AI is just completely turned off while the grab is in progress, or Leon has full invincibility frames. I'm going to assume that maybe Leon has full invincibility frames here. That might not be true. It might just be that the zombies simply don't grab you while you're in the middle of one of these animations. Like, the zombie just like sort of jittered there, and we were able to like start shooting him again. Yep. Yep. Man, they love showing that move. It is so gratuitously juicy. This is where the game starts to slow down and become a little more classic Resident Evil or Resident Evil 7. We only have one gun at this point. We got Requiem. The pinch hitter, as they called it. I actually really like the way that the zombies take on the activities that they had in like their past lives. Yeah, so, you know, you make some distance, make enough distance to be able to properly aim your gun. The gun just like super jumped out of the way. But I mean, it seems reasonable. I mean, I hope that the bullet comes out immediately and the gun doesn't just like, you know, jump before like the bullet actually comes out or something. That would be not good. But
Jesus.
oh, was there something? What was that? Hang on. Oh, interesting. So Grace actually also has a melee attack like up here. You can actually see that there's a melee attack prompt right there.
Jesus.
This kind of stuff is like super duper cool. The cleaning lady zombie is just like furiously trying to clean. I'm not sure where I heard this, but the reason these zombies are acting the way that they are acting, falling into the routine that they had before. I'm not sure if that's because they're like freshly infected, or if the virus just like sort of allows them to maintain some of their intelligence. Welcome to Raccoon City was a really, really bad Resident Evil movie. But one thing that I really liked about it was you could see the gradual deterioration of infected people into zombies as the movie progressed. Like, this sort of like feels like a nod to that in a way. That could very well be something that's just like at the start of like the infection, which enhances the like enhances not only like the madness that you feel everyone is like descending into. I don't know, there's just something really unsettling, creepy, and scary about it. Sorry to use, such one-dimensional words to describe it. I don't know. I'll think a little more on it later. Maybe. Whatever. But yeah, she seems to be cleaning those mirrors a little too much. She's cleaning the mirrors so much that she's breaking skin. Blood is the best way to clean mirrors. This guy over here, I guess maybe he's like a janitor, or he's just like obsessively turning off the lights. You just sort of like take advantage of these behavior flaws of the zombies to be able to like sneak past them. But also, every zombie that I've seen so far in this preview, they all seem to have differing models. They all seem to be like very different zombies, like every single one of them. Like they really went for variety this time. In Resident Evil 2 Remake, they sort of like mixed the clothing around. But otherwise, you saw like the same, I don't know, 10 faces or something like that on like across like all the zombie models. You don't really see a whole lot of that here, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Checks bullets. It's empty. Zombies also have weapons. Don't care that eating people is wrong, but they have enough logic to know that you can kill people faster with weapons. So there you go. It's just like the behavior of the zombies just shows like some pretty fantastic insight into like what could potentially be going on inside their heads as their mental state just like deteriorates further and further. Yeah, let's take another look at that. Let's take another look at that jump. There wasn't even really much of a jump with that handgun. It takes a kind of a long time. Yeah, the bottle throw right there. I actually think that's pretty good. You could probably like shatter the bottle in their hand. If you can target multiple limbs and you were able to like shoot objects out of enemy hands in other Resident Evil games up to this point, dollars to donuts, you can actually shoot the bottle out of that zombie's hand. Sorry for the video compression error here. Like through, that's just another way that they can hit you. So because Grace didn't have like a defense weapon or anything like that, I don't know if Grace also gets like a defense item similar to Leon's hatchet or anything like that. But she took a bite in her hand, and then she took like a bite on the neck too. So Grace basically took like double damage from that zombie. And the next grab over here, I guess you can see on the bottom left. Let me make sure my camera's, yeah, okay. So you can see on the bottom left, there's the health indicator. Going from fine to caution to danger. This is very obviously Grace is like in danger. Getting screamed in the face. You can tell that zombie used to be a singer, and she's enjoying singing, and she just doesn't, she's just don't you like my singing? Don't you like my singing, Grace? Don't I have a pretty voice? I'm just trying to entertain you. Okay, this right here, this is like probably the only instance of like, dubious shooting I've seen. But when you take into consideration that like right about here, right before the gun fires, here, the crosshair is not completely covering the zombie's head. So that's probably pretty fair game. She couldn't reload in time. Should have made some distance, really. They're actually like talking to each other. The echoes of like socialization, as it were. But all that goes out the window. Okay, there. Actually, there's a defense item, but you only get to use it. You only get to use it after the bite has happened. You don't get to use it before.
Shit.
Not sure if you get to pick it up. Okay, so there's Grace's melee attack right there. It's just a shove where you can like knock them over. Also, like the way that these zombies are just like so, they're just like grinning. They're just like happy. It's so. It looks like the baby makes a return. It looks like the baby from Resident Evil Village, except you can actually like shoot it or something. But it's a pretty big enemy. It's a pretty big enemy. Looks like you're supposed to run away because you don't have enough resources to take it out. Little demonstration of the God damn it. Yeah, the hemolytic injector here. Using scrap and something else. Like scrap and just like the blood you get, and it takes like 30 blood and 1 scrap. The zombie's saying quiet.
That's too effective.
Sounds like they're like sleep talking almost. So for Grace has what appears to be the item box, also antique coin. There's an antique coin here. You can see another like icon on the floor. I don't know if you can like reabsorb blood after you've like used the hemolytic injector to explode a zombie. Old metal coin used for games can be exchanged for prizes in the parlor. Maybe there's like some expansions that you can get for Grace's inventory as well. We got the back to Leon's gameplay. Also our favorite animation. It's been there since Resident Evil 2. For some reason he didn't tip the shelf all the way up. He just trapped himself in there. But that's okay because you're forced to fight this guy anyway. You get the pump shotgun here. This time he's moving on 2 legs. Maybe they're not like babies or whatever. They're just like hyper mutated zombies that just like sort of turned into the big blubbery ones. I forget what they're called in Resident Evil 6. Whopper! That's what it was. They were called Whoppers in Resident Evil 6. You can use the axe to follow up with like a melee kill. If they're having trouble fitting through the door, you can use that to shoot them a bunch more. Obviously they take off a lot of health. Leon can parkour his way up these half-broken ladders. Guy's trying to climb up. The jumping finisher. In summary, I'm cautiously optimistic about Requiem, but there is a thought that I want to share. Last time Capcom tried to flip between action and horror, we had Resident Evil 6. Leon had an action horror scenario that briefly started with horror, but was really an action zombie shooter. Chris had Chris of Duty. Jake and Sherry was this weird melee action pursuit Mission Impossible thing. I don't think Grace's scenario or Grace's sections are going to be horror for long, but I do think it will be compelling in that it'll have this sort of logic puzzle survival gameplay that I like from classic Resident Evil games. And Leon's scenario, while heavily action-focused, will actually feel fluid instead of like a bulkier, slower, clunkier, tankier Resident Evil 4 like with the remake of that game. I'm still crossing my fingers for it, but I genuinely think that this one will be fun to play this time. I can only hope that on the harder difficulties we don't see enemies that take like 30 billion handgun bullets to kill and break the pace of the game like with Village, or worse, spawn crowds of zombies with that much HP, no hit stun, make it something so like grenades take like 5 grenades to kill one enemy. I want difficulty that rewards strategy and getting better at the game. I would like to not play 11-year-old Braden from Nebraska's Mario Maker level where there's a million mushrooms, crap tons of enemy spam, and the only way to win is to have more resources than the enemy. I think the game will be an obvious hit. Atmosphere is good, exploration appears okay, combat passable, and Leon is driving a Porsche. Yes, that's actually pronounced Porsche. With an E, it's German, literally the name of the guy who created the company. Pronounce the E. Also, you already know that I'm going to be streaming the damn game. Why ask a question that you already know the answer to? Get your ass in here when the embargo is up. Come on. See you guys then.